In a single moment, an entire city was turned into hell. A white flash in the sky, followed by a terrifying silence. The story of the first nuclear bomb in history, the Hiroshima bomb. Not just lines in a book, but a wound that will never heal in humanity's memory. On the morning of August 6, 1945, the United States dropped the first nuclear bomb in history on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. The bomb, codenamed Little Boy, was carried aboard the American B-29 bomber known as Enola Gay. It exploded at an altitude of about 600 meters above the city, causing near total destruction. Thousands of residents were vaporized in the first instant, and the city was transformed into a hell of fire, smoke, and silence. The heat generated by the explosion reached unimaginable temperatures, burning both people and buildings alike. Some victims were reduced to nothing more than shadows etched onto walls due to the intensity of the light and heat. In just a few moments, at least 70,000 people were killed, and the number continued to rise in the days and weeks that followed due to injuries, burns, and radiation-related illnesses caused by the bomb's deadly release into the atmosphere. The mechanical impact of the explosion was immense, as the shockwave crushed buildings and brought them down on the heads of their inhabitants. Fires spread throughout every corner of the city. As for the ionizing radiation, its effects were invisible but long-lasting. Those who survived the initial blast were exposed to high doses of radiation, which later led to chronic illnesses and cancer, particularly leukemia and glandular cancers, as well as reproductive issues and genetic deformities that appeared in subsequent generations. The survivors of this catastrophe are known in Japan as hibakusha, and many of them lived in the shadow of fear, physical pain, and psychological trauma. Some were children at the moment of the explosion and grew up to become witnesses to one of the most horrific crimes in history. Many of them dedicated their lives to sharing their experiences and warning the world about the dangers of nuclear weapons. Some spoke of the white flash that preceded the explosion, the charred bodies, the screams of the wounded, the radiation-contaminated water that the injured drank as they drew their final breaths, and the long years of suffering and devastating medical diagnoses. On the political front, the Hiroshima bomb marked a decisive moment in World War II. Just a few days later, on August 15th, Japan announced its surrender, bringing the war to an end. However, the beginning of the nuclear arms race had already begun, as other powers rushed to develop this type of weapon. A new era in history had started, known as the Cold War, characterized by a constant fear of an all-out nuclear conflict. On the other hand, Hiroshima has become a global symbol of peace. Today, the city serves as a center for remembrance and reconciliation, with the establishment of the Peace Park and a museum that documents the details and aftermath of the bombing. Many world leaders have visited the city as a symbolic gesture to support peace and the rejection of nuclear weapons. One of the most notable visits was that of US President Barack Obama in 2016, where he stood before the memorial to the bomb's victims and delivered a speech calling on the world to rid itself of nuclear weapons. The Hiroshima bomb was not merely a military event. It was a moral, scientific, and humanitarian shock that compelled humanity to seriously reflect on the consequences of science without limits, and on the true meaning of power, which should not be measured by destruction. Every year, the people of Hiroshima commemorate this dreadful day with silence and hope, carrying a clear message to the world: never again. Hiroshima did not die. It rose from the ashes, transforming from a devastated city into a symbol of global peace. But the question remains: have we learned the lesson? And will the day come when nuclear weapons are erased from our planet? The choice is ours, and memory does not forget. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video so we can spread the message of peace.